Good morning and welcome. We know that many of you who attend regularly online are singing with me when I'm leading Giving Voice to the Spirit, and we love that. I hope you'll join me today for the two songs we have this morning. Give light, and the people will find a way. Give light, and the people will find a way. Give light, and the people will find a way. The people will find a way, I do believe. Sing hope, and the people will find a way. Sing hope, and the people will find a way. Sing hope, and the people will find a way. The people will find a way, I do believe. Send love, and the people will find a way. Send love, and the people will find a way. Send love, and the people will find a way. The people will find a way, I do believe. Give light, and the people will find a way. Give light, and the people will find a way. Give light, and the people will find a way. The people will find a way, I do believe. Go yonder, and sing to the people, voices of courage resounding and strong. Tell all the lonely, the frightened and mourning. Tell all the people, together we're strong. Go yonder, and pray for the people. Send out your blessing, your hope, and your love. Prayers of resilience, compassion, and power. Our love is as wide as the blue sky above. Go yonder, and sing to the people, voices of courage resounding and strong. Tell all the lonely, the frightened and mourning. Tell all the people, together we're strong.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. We are grateful to share this space with you today. Service participants include Carol Coette, Reverend Jack Gady, and Amy Peterson Derrick, supported behind the scenes by Reverend Sarah Goodman, Anna Garris, and Aaron Scott. Today, after the service, you're all invited to join with each other for Cyber Coffee Hour. Come for informal conversation and meet friends old and new. Aaron will put the Zoom link and the easy instructions in the chat box. Watch the chat box also for information about our weekly offering and how to text to give. This will be up on a slide a little later, but we welcome your gifts at any time supporting our congregation. Welcome to our church. Together, we grow our souls and serve the world.
Come into this space which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this space where we can heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this space where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this space. Together we make it a holy space, and welcome. Kristen Daniels will light our chalice.
Hi everyone, my name is Kristen Daniels. Many of you know me as Taya and Annalise's mom. I want to light the chalice today for mindfulness. So I'm going to read a poem from Thich Nhat Hanh today, and hope that we can all strive to find moments in our day to be mindful. Our true home is in the present moment. To live in the present moment is a miracle. The miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the green earth in the present moment, to appreciate the peace and beauty that are available now. Peace is all around us, in the world and in nature, and within us, in our bodies and our spirits. Once we learn to touch this peace, we will be healed and transformed. It is not a matter of faith, it is a matter of practice. So I light the chalice today for mindfulness.
Please join me for the opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Let us
Good morning. This morning's story is a Jewish folktale based on a tale told in the 1700s by the Jewish teacher known as the Maggid of Dabanov. This particular telling is adapted from a version told by Alice Anatenka Niesman and Kathleen Cartwright-Chow. Once upon a time, there once was a very wealthy king who owned many beautiful things. But of all his favorite things, his very favorite possession was the most glorious diamond you could possibly imagine. It was huge, as big around as his hand, and it was pure, clear, and flawless, without any marks or blemishes. He loved to go and sit with that diamond, gazing at its beauty and perfection. Word had traveled far and wide about this king's magnificent jewel, and people would travel from all over the globe just to see it. Jewelers would come to inspect it, and each would be as astonished as the next at its perfection. Then, one day, as the king was admiring his prized possession, he dropped the diamond to the floor. When he picked up the jewel, much to his horror, he discovered that it now had a long, deep scratch. He couldn't believe his eyes. What had happened to his flawless diamond? The king was distraught. Immediately, he sent for all of the best stone cutters and diamond cutters in his kingdom, and one by one, they came to inspect the diamond. Each looked at it closely and then sadly shook their head. The scratch was just much too deep. If they tried to polish it, they might break the diamond into many little pieces. Finally, one last diamond carver came before the king. He looked at the diamond closely, gazing at it from every angle. The king watched with bated breath as the diamond carver turned the diamond over and over, pursing his lips and shaking his head. But suddenly the diamond carver's face broke into a big smile. "I know how to fix this, Your Majesty," he exclaimed. "Leave it to me. In time, I will return your diamond to you better than ever. However, you may not visit me during this time or check on my progress. You must wait until it is finished." Well, the king was very excited and relieved. Soon his flawless diamond would be back and perfect once again, the scratch removed. Each passing day, though, was harder than the last. Each day, the king wondered and worried about the state of his beloved diamond. Could it be fixed? What if the people no longer came to his palace to see the diamond? What if the diamond was ruined forever? As for the diamond carver, day after day and night after night, he brought out his tools to fix that diamond, and bit by bit, he worked on that scratch. It was slow and tedious work. He knew he had to work carefully, or the diamond could crack into pieces. Finally, one day, the diamond cutter was finished. Carefully, he wrapped the diamond in cloth to protect it, and he brought it before the king. "Here it is, Your Majesty," he said as he presented the diamond. The king carefully held the diamond in his hands. He gasped at what he saw, and for a time, he was silent. The scratch was still there. It had not been removed at all. Instead, the king saw that the diamond cutter had seen the crack as a stem of a rose, and he had etched alongside it roots and a stem and a flower to go with it. The diamond cutter became worried at the silence and that the king might be dissatisfied with his work. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "I knew the diamond could never be quite the same, and the more I looked at it, though the diamond was different, it was still a great beauty. And the crack told a story all of its own." Slowly, the king began to smile, and a tear fell down his cheek. "It is even more beautiful than it was before," exclaimed the king. "You have transformed a scratch into a mark of beauty. Thank you." So stories of this diamond once again spread throughout the world, and people still came from all over to marvel at this unique stone with its exquisitely beautiful flower carved into the diamond. And the king loved his diamond and its scratch more than ever.
In these times, your gifts are needed more than ever. Today's offering supports the programs and vision of our church community. Please be generous. Our first reading is from a poem by Mark Doty called Brilliance. Maggie's taking care of a man who's dying. He's attended to everything, said goodbye to his parents, paid off his credit card. She says, why don't you just run it up to the limit? But he wants everything squared away, no balance owed, though he misses the pets he's already found a home for. He can't be around dogs or cats, too much risk. He says, I can't have anything. She says, a bowl of goldfish? He says he doesn't want to start with anything, and then describes the kind he'd maybe like, how their tails would fan to a gold flaming. They talk about hot jewel tones, gold lacquer, say maybe they'll go pick some up, though he can't go much of anywhere, and then abruptly he says, I can't love anything I can't finish. He says it like he'd had enough of the whole scintillant world, that what he means is he'll never be satisfied and therefore has established this discipline, a kind of severe rehearsal. That's where they leave it, him looking out the window, her knitting as she does, because she needs to do something. Later, he leaves a message. Yes to the bowl of goldfish, meaning, let me go if I have to, in brilliance. Our second reading is also by Mark Doty, a fragment from an essay. We are the elements of the world's consciousness of itself, and thus we are necessary, replaceable and irreplaceable at once. Someone will take our places, but then again, there will never be anyone like us, no one who will see quite this way. We are a sudden flowering of seeing among millions of such blossomings, like the innumerable tiny stars on the branching stalk of the sea lavender. It takes how many, 1,000, to construct this violent sheen, this little shaking cloud of flowers?
dark and a troubled side of life, there's a bright and a sunny side too. Though we meet with the darkness and strife, the sunny side we also may view. The storm and its fury broke today, crushing hopes that we cherish so dear. Clouds and storms will in time pass away. The sun again will shine bright and clear.
Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way, if we keep on the sunny side life.
Let us greet with a song of hope each day, though the moment be cloudy or fair. Let us trust in each other always, with courage, compassion, and care.
Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way, if we keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way, if we keep on the sunny side of life.
Maggie's taking care of a man who's dying. Mark Doty tells the story in his poem, Brilliance. He's attended to everything, said goodbye to his parents, paid off his credit card. She says, why don't you just run it up to the limit? But he wants everything squared away, no balance owed. He misses the pets he's already given away, but he can't be around dogs or cats, too much risk. He says, I can't have anything. She says, a bowl of goldfish? He says he doesn't want to start with anything. And then he describes the kind he'd maybe like, how their tails would fan to gold flaring. And then they talk about hot jewel tones and gold lacquer and say, maybe they'll go pick some up. And then abruptly he says, I can't love anything I can't finish. He says it like he'd already had enough of the whole scintillant world, though what he means is he'll never be satisfied, and therefore he's established this discipline, a kind of severe rehearsal. But later he leaves a message. Yes, to the bowl of goldfish, meaning, let me go. If I have to go, let me go in brilliance. You know, we're all going. We're all dying here, each in our quiet, mysterious, even to ourselves, own way. The question is, it always is, will we go? And our whole lives long are just this long, drawn-out process of going. Will we go as we go in brilliance? In brilliance or bitterness, in brilliance or fear? Will we live our lives such as they are, such as the cards have been dealt us, in gratitude and love and curiosity and wonder, benevolence, a sense of adventure and calm, or not? Like Maggie's friend, we're all susceptible to this longing to have everything squared away all the time, everything perfect, no loose ends, no unknowns. Even if we have every reason to believe we've got years ahead of us, we're all susceptible to this small, tight, bitter foreclosure. I can't have anything, too much risk. I can't love anything I can't finish. We're all susceptible, and perhaps especially now, right? If things fall apart, a little or a lot, sometimes part of us shuts down. If I can't have it all, I don't want anything, we say. Not in every moment, Not every time. Sometimes, though, sometimes out loud, but usually not, we say, I'm too scared. Everything's out of my control. I can't see what's coming next. Not sure I want to see. I have no choices here, no power. This is all the life there is. I'm done. Not literally, maybe, but done with the risk of joy. All our lives, we are balancing our expectations for our lives or for the day against reality, balancing what we expect and maybe feel entitled to against things as they are, circumstances we can't control. And every day we decide what to make of the space in between, the gap between what we want and what in the moment is actually possible. It's an art, it's a craft, how you hold that. That's the shaping of your character. It's your religion. In these pandemic days, we're all trying to find our way through so much uncertainty now about money, family, school, safety, reopening, not reopening, graduation, travel, wellness, illness, mental illness, depression, anxiety, loneliness, work that used to feel worthy and important, work that used to feel secure, the prospect of no work at all. I feel like Maggie's dying friend in the poem sometimes. I catch myself feeling much more comfortable in the ever-shrinking world of what I know for sure and what I can control than in the brighter, beckoning world of larger possibilities that might or might not ever come to pass. We become masters of risk management, tempering our plans and dreams, dimming down our imagination, and sometimes this is prudent, but it's not how we're designed as humans. Our minds, our souls, they're built for dreaming big. Sometimes these days, it is really hard to see the difference between everything's lost and everything's changing, and they are not the same thing. Mark Doty wrote his poem almost 30 years ago in the midst of the AIDS epidemic. His own partner, Wally, died in that time, and so many thousands more, tens of thousands more. It was a time in some ways like this time we're in right now, when we were so bewildered and frightened and anxious and angry at no one in particular, and sometimes at each other, and always at elected leaders, especially at the very top, who were counting the losses and playing the political odds and deciding then as now that some of our citizens, our beautiful people, were utterly expendable, that some vast number of beloveds would just have to die for money and greed or by negligence or outright homophobic, racist disregard. It was a very different time, that other time of plague, but not in every way. We learned a lot then, one by one, and as a country, about what happens to us under pressure, where the flaws are in our systems and the cracks in our own character. And we also learned where we shine, how we shine together, such a mighty light, how we say to one another, we dare to say it now brazenly, are you okay? You seem a little despondent. Have you thought about getting a bowl of goldfish? We just come right out and say it. At the church I served out east back then, I remember a span of weeks, 1 year, when we lost 3 members of the congregation all in a row. Beautiful men, gay men, a singer in the choir, a teacher, the chair of the finance committee, and there were others in those years. I remember visiting John in the hospital, whose husband had died a few months before. Not long after his own diagnosis, John bought not a bowl of goldfish, but a red Miata, a way of saying first to himself, kind of trying it on, and then to all the world, I'm going to live in brilliance. You just try and stop me. And it was not a frivolous decision or a selfish impulse. He made a plan to leave that car to his niece, who had no money for a car and needed one for work. He let her pick it out, choose the color. In the hospital, he said to me, we're not heroes, Victoria. Don't ever call us that. We are not heroes, and we're also not victims. We're not martyrs. We are not to be pitied or revered. We're just people. We're your family. And we're all beautiful, and we're all a bit of a mess, just like you. And if you can understand that, he said, if you can get it, and if our church can understand it, it'll be a better church. And he was right, and that was true. We're all only just people, just trying to help each other live a brilliant life. In April, I read about a woman making masks. And for me, there's something about this new crafting, this 21st century cottage industry, the sound, if you listen, of sewing machines humming all over your neighborhood, hundreds and thousands of cloth masks lovingly stitched, freely given away, the way people knitted socks and vests in World War I, or rolled bandages or blankets. We are finding ways to touch each other, someone's hand to the thread and the cloth, and that cloth to someone else's face, even with lots of washing and drying in between to disinfect the transaction. It's still intimate, still sanctified. A few weeks ago, I read about a woman doing this in San Francisco. Gert McMullen has made thousands of masks since mid-March on an old sewing machine in a corner of the warehouse where for 3 decades she has curated the AIDS Memorial Quilt. Since the 1980s, when with a group of friends, she stitched the quilt's first 2 panels in memory of 2 friends who died. Since then, she's nurtured that project, so now there are 49,000 panels, each 3 feet by 6, holding 94,000 names of people who've died of AIDS. It's too big now to be displayed in its entirety, but when sections of it go on tour, she often travels with them all over the world, curling up in the folds of it to sleep. And back at home, she keeps it all in order, cataloged floor-to-ceiling shelves, and still receiving new panels. So as this new plague has advanced, Gert McMullen says she could have hunkered down. She could have looked away. She's tempted to. She's weary now of so much death and sadness. She said it never occurred to her the first time around that she'd spend her whole life sewing for a cause, and she's in her 60s now and tired. A big part of her is just ready to lay it down. But instead, she's gathering the scraps, yards of extra cloth that people sent with their panels to mend holes and fix tears, and she's giving the fabric new life, sending all these colors and textures and the wild 80s prints out into the world as COVID masks. The panels of the AIDS quilt are sewn from the old denim shirts and t-shirts and dress shirts and pajamas and pants of the people who died. It is made of their police uniforms and their graduation gowns, their clerical stoles and bow ties and bathing suits, the stockings and sequin gowns of drag queens and handkerchiefs and baseball caps, all ripped apart just like the people's lives and stitched again into new beauty, and now yet again. In San Francisco, at one hospital, a young nurse caring now for COVID patients says he knows the mask he wears might have been made from a shirt worn by somebody who died on his same unit 35 years ago, maybe the year he was born, 1985. He says the older coworkers can't believe it when they see these masks come in. It's like something holy when they put them on. Our theme this month is imperfection, the practice of shining. It's a theme we chose almost a year ago at the end of last May, 2019, when we had no idea, right, how imperfect life was going to get, how glitches and flaws in the systems we thought we could count on would be exposed for what they are, racist and broken and insufficient and cruel, how our own imperfections would all be exposed, sometimes on Zoom webinars with who knows who all watching live. And John was right years ago. Most of us in this are not heroes. Some of you are, that is clear. but most are not heroes or victims or martyrs. We're just people trying to make our way, our imperfect way through this imperfect world, just trying to keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side, not in rosy denial, but denial's opposite, the side of life, despite disappointment, despite whatever expectations we once had for history's unfolding. Imperfection is a great theme, partly because finally it's one that I know something about, much better in my own case than reverence or grace or any of these other lofty, aspirational, holy themes that I flunked in seminary and really don't live out so well right now. I'm an expert on imperfection. But then I thought about it and I realized actually I'm not. I'm an expert on perfectionism, which is humble imperfection's evil twin. I could tell you stories about its terrible cost, the damage it does to the spirit, the way you learn to look so unforgivingly, not just at yourself, but at other people and the whole world. It's like Maggie's friend in the poem. If I can't have it all and have it just right, then I don't want anything. And that is no way to die or live. It's time to let that just go. What better time than this pandemic time to let go of any expectation that this world or this life owes us any perfection whatsoever. It's time to let go. What better time of any expectation that we ourselves could be or should try to be superstars of efficiency or equilibrium? Just take a breath here. Let that go. It doesn't matter if you have cut your hair or combed your hair this morning or swept your floor or made your bed or figured out completely how to pay your bills on unemployment. How could you so soon with so many unknowns? It doesn't matter if your kid can't sit still for hours in front of an iPad for school, or if you haven't yet mastered all the recipes your Facebook friends are posting, or even one. Nor even if you've done a single thing on whatever list you're going to make for today. Take a breath. Let it go. And just resolve that the one thing you will try to accomplish today is noticing the greening world, the flowering out there, this gentle spring that came and it found you here in the midst of everything, just as it finds you every year, no matter how you hide or look away. What matters is that we love as best we can, imperfectly, the scintillant world and each other and ourselves, and cut everyone and everything we meet just a little slack here. I believe that that right there is the doctrine of universalism. There are certain activities that call out for a kind of perfection, right? We appreciate perfection in the work of surgeons, for example, or the pilots of airplanes, or violinists in a string quartet. But even surgeons come home at night and binge on Netflix and Doritos. And even pilots use the wrong dryer setting occasionally, and they shrink their stiff white shirts with the fancy epaulets, and they parent their children imperfectly and forget to call their mothers. And even virtuoso violinists cheat on their online workouts because they're just too damn tired, or they get their taxes in late, or they forget 6 out of 7 things on the grocery list because it just felt so anxious and scary in the store, and they break down sobbing on the couch for no apparent reason till somebody mops them up and tells them it's okay, you're okay. Perfection has a place, but it's a pretty small, irrelevant place in most of our lives. For most of us, it has no rightful place at all. It was years ago, in the midst of the AIDS epidemic, when I first read Mark Doty's poetry and also his memoir, A Letter of Condolence on the Death of his partner Wally, a letter from a friend who told him about kintsugi, the Japanese cups mended with gold. His friend wrote, "What I'm working up to say is how sorry I was to hear about Wally and your broken heart. I didn't know him, but I've heard what a tremendous person he was. And I'm thinking now of those ancient Japanese ceramic cups, rustic in appearance. One of them, the property at some point of a holy monk, one of the few possessions he allowed himself. In a later century, someone dropped and broke the cup, but it was too precious to simply throw away, so it was repaired, not with glue, which never really holds, but with a seam of gold solder, making visible and beautiful a part of its history. Mark Doty then reflected on the image. What was cannot be restored. I can neither have Wally back in the flesh nor return to the self I inhabited before his death. The vessel's not cracked, but broken all the way through permanently. The break, he said, from now on is an inescapable part of who I am, perhaps the inescapable part. But who can live day by day in pieces? Loss shatters us first, and then what? This metaphor offers possibility, he said, to honor the part of oneself that's irreparable, not to apologize or disguise it, not to try to mend it in any seamless way. Studying the cup, viewers might see the rupture first, but to fill the crack with gold means to allow the break prominence, to let it shine. Broken, ongoing. He said, we see at once what it was and what it is, and wearing its history, the old cup with its gilt scars becomes a treasure of another sort, whole in its fragmentation. We are all cracked cups, never more than now. We are vessels of unspeakable value, and we're bruised and damaged through and through by definition. In this cracked up, crazy time we're in, this not so perfect moment, where most of us neither heroes nor victims, we're just people, we're family, shining through with all our vulnerabilities and occasional fits of strength, our fears, our anxieties. We're leaning as we're able toward our loves and hopes. Perfectionism isolates. God knows we're lonely enough as it is right now. Anchor on the people you love. Open to the truths you know and always have. Rest a while and work with the communities like this one that are not going to let you go. Mark Doty, writing out of deepest grief and writing also toward imperfect but sufficient joy, said, together, we're the elements of the world's consciousness of itself, and thus we are necessary. We're replaceable and irreplaceable at once. Someone will take our places here, but then again, there will never be anyone like us, no one who will see quite the same way. Together, we're a sudden flowering of seeing among millions of such blossomings. And like the innumerable tiny stars on the branching stalk of the sea lavender, it takes how many? 1,000? To construct this violet sheen, this little shaking cloud of purple flowers. May we know our place in that bouquet. May we know our place, our rightful place, each one of us. And may we make our home, our common, messy, unvacuumed, beautiful home within this gorgeous and imperfect world. Amen. We're going to sing one more time.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We know within, we will get there. Heaven knows how we will where we are going. We know within we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Please join me in the closing words. May peace dwell within our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage steel our will and love of truth forever guide us. Friends, thank you for joining us today. If you're not yet receiving our email news, go to our website and please sign up. We'll send updates twice a week about online services and programming, groups and gatherings and circles of care. Call or write to us with your questions or ask for help or offer help. We are sending you love from Maple Street and all of our locations. Stay strong, everyone. Please stay well. So be it. See to it. Amen.
Ezekiel saw the wheel, way up in the middle of the air.
Ezekiel saw the wheel, way in the middle of the air.
The big wheel run by faith,
And the little wheel run by the grace of God. 'Tis a wheel in a wheel, way in the middle of the air.
some go to church to sing and shout.
Way in the middle of the air,
Before 6 months they all turned out.
way in the middle of the air.